Oh, you're go. All right. Very good. All right. Sean Wadsworth calling the Albany Planning Board monthly meeting on September the 9th to order. Chair and Secretary Sean Wadsworth.
Morris, Vice Chair.
Amalia Torres, alternate.
And Jim Jerome.
All right. Thank you. And I'll appoint Amalia as a voting member for this meeting, and excused are Brian Bailey and Curtis Coleman, unless they show up. So, first thing is minutes of last month, which was August 12th. Did everyone have a chance to read the minutes?
I did, I looked them over,
I didn't get it.
To approve
Didn't
them
get
as
it.
it is.
Check that. I'll just hold on that for just a minute.
It was on the 12th of August, I
Oh,
believe.
was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a while back.
So maybe I did get that one.
Did I send the minutes?
Yeah, I have it in here. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is
Sometimes I get things that.
james.druin@gmail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So this must be here somewhere.
You want the date? The date is August 12th.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it won't let me go back that far either.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want some time to review them? I can print them out, Jim.
You said it's 12.
We can circle back to
August
it.
12th. I reviewed August 12th. Yeah.
I'll just print it out and we can circle back to it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tabling the minutes for now. We'll come back to it at the end of the meeting. Are they good? Why does it keep doing that? Select board report.
What did we talk about? Yeah. Yeah, so we just had an application for a vendor permit.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, just the printer.
Oh, okay.
Pass that.
Anyways, we had an application for a vendor permit. We discussed the chapel and setting up a committee
Yeah.
to look into that and see what we want to do with that space. Went over the expenditure reports. Talked about the EOP, the Emergency Operations Plan. We have a new TA starting, training.
Yep.
That's going well.
What is the TA?
The town administrator,
Oh, okay, you did.
Ms.
Okay.
Kelly's getting done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We met with Amanda Emery from Best Buddies. They're gonna use the town hall for a function.
Okay. Yeah.
Other than that, that's about it.
All right. Did select board look at CIP?
No, we didn't.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, and just let's see. Voting for New Hampshire state primaries is tomorrow from
8 to 7.
8 to 7.
Okay.
at the Albany Town Hall. Come vote. And Dennis, I think we're on the olds already. Oh, so we can go back to CIP. Yeah. Let's just take a quick look at CIP. We kind of went over it last month, preliminary look at it. So I think we're going to have a second preliminary look at it today. So capital improvements projects, capital improvement plan, capital improvement projects and annual contributions, capital improvement projects. So these are listed capital improvement projects. The point of this is to anticipate big expenditures for the town that might be coming up, and then to spread those expenditures out over a 6-year window so that we don't get a 1-year big spike in costs and a consequent spike in taxes for the public. So it's just a planning tool, and there's only a handful of, what do we got? 8 items. So starting at the top here are buildings, general government and buildings. The first one is the Chapel Capital Reserve Fund. And Jim just mentioned that the select board is putting together a chapel committee. Is that what it is, a committee?
Yes.
Yeah, great. So we had estimated at some point that gross capital cost for the chapel is $50,000, but is probably needing updating.
Probably, yeah.
And that it would come entirely from taxes. Over the past 6 years, we've been putting in $1,000 per year. So we have, oh no, we're at, according to last year's CIP, we're at 50,000. I would need to double check that. So I will get the updated balances from Kelly or the new town administrator. Yeah. So I'll get these updated balances of what the balance actually is for each of these categories. But Chapel Cap Reserve estimated 50,000. That probably needs to be re-looked at. And then once we kind of have what that gross capital cost might be, then to maybe adjust what the annual contribution is accordingly. Town Hall Capital Reserve Fund, as an estimated gross capital cost of 30,000, and we've been putting in 6,000 a year for that. So again, that might need to be re-looked at. For public safety, Jim, you just mentioned this as well, the emergency management plan, or was it EOP?
EOP, yeah.
Emergency operations plans.
Yes.
And this is the money to fund that, and that has been at $1,000 a year. For the highway, and it's unfortunate that Curtis and Brian aren't here. They probably have the most insight into this, but our Highway Expendable Trust Fund is estimated at $1.3 million, and that has had to do with some of the repairs needed on Passaconaway Road.
Is the estimated our target? Is that what that is? That's
Yes.
our target. Okay.
That's the target. Yep. And then general repairs of town roads and it is having some money in here for Red List Bridge grant funding. So we've been funding that at 60,000 a year, and again, all these need to be reviewed to see if it's appropriate. Drake Hill road bridge. This is on the north end of Drake Hill Road. The bridge there is red listed, so that will need to get replaced at some point. That is estimated at $754,000, and we've been putting in $8,000 a year for that. I think our discussion last month was that that's probably going to have to significantly be increased, as I'm recalling. Cemeteries, the Cemetery Expendable Trust Fund, with a target of $25,000 and putting in $1,000 a year. And then the Revaluation Trust Fund, which is, I think every 5 years, assessor goes around and does a townwide assessment. And the cost of paying the assessor to do that is $20,000 thereabouts. So we've been putting in $3,500 a year for that. So that's the general overview. I'll need to get the balance from local funds from Kelly, and then we may need to convene a separate CIP meeting, maybe with more of the select board. I don't know. Do you want to bring this to select board in a select board meeting, or do you
I can do that.
think
Yeah.
you just want to have another CIP meeting that is dedicated to
No,
just
I think I
CIP?
could bring that. We can have a quick discussion and then
Okay,
let them help choose.
guide
The
that.
board choose whether we want to do it.
Yeah.
Another meeting.
In particular, with the gross capital costs here of what the estimates are that we think these things are
Right,
actually
make
going
sure
to
they're-
cost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure we're in the ballpark of what we think's actually going to happen.
Right.
All right, so that's that. I'll forward or email this to the board so that everyone has this sheet as it stands right now.
Can we have that sheet also?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll email it to.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it for CIP right now, I think, unless anyone has anything else CIP wise to change around. And then so really the last thing on the agenda is discussing our definitions in our ordinances, in particular as it relates to buildings on private property mostly. So buildings, dwellings, accessory dwelling units, and structure. So I'm all ears to hear what anyone has to say about.
So yeah, I quickly read over them, and from what I could tell, they seem in order. What I didn't have time to do, what I'd like to do is look over other municipalities.
Yeah.
Because I am sure, I've lived in North Carolina, and I'm pretty sure they get into more details of what constitutes what we just have as definitions.
Yeah.
And that will, leave less gray area if it, we get what's happening, coming up.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to do that, but I'd like to. But what I looked at, we've read some of the ordinances before and shown where there's kind of wording that could be corrected.
Yeah.
From the definitions themselves, it looks straightforward. I don't see errors. I'm sure throughout the whole ordinances, there are more errors that we could clean up.
Mm-hmm.
But just in the definitions, they looked fine to me.
So the ones in particular that we've been asked by the select board to give attention to are basically the things that are defining what is allowed on a property. So accessory dwelling. So this is our ordinances up here, and we're under section 2 definitions, and second definition is an accessory dwelling unit. This one was added in 2018. It's fairly recent add, the accessory dwelling unit portion, and I think the board did a pretty good job of being pretty explicit and concise with their definitions on this.
Yeah.
There's a whole addendum of accessory dwelling unit, and the previous planning board that did this,
I think where we ran into trouble was breaking it down one more time and defining dwelling.
yeah,
And some of our conversations was, you know, if you have sleeping quarters, bathrooms, and a kitchen, that's a dwelling.
mm,
But at what point is it not a dwelling? If you have sleeping quarters with no bathroom and no kitchen, then that's not a dwelling.
yeah. Well, so here's definition of dwelling. This is kind of, I was just gonna go down the list, but
Okay.
you're getting there. Well, let's start with number 5. Actually, we need number 3. We need number 2. Number 2, accessory dwelling unit. This one's pretty well defined. An accessory dwelling unit, or ADU, in a residential living unit that is within or attached to a single-family dwelling, and that provides independent living facilities for one or more persons, including provisions for sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation, on the same parcel of land as the principal dwelling unit it accompanies. Again, we're gonna go, there'll be a lot of stuff like this, but even in here, I'm just reading, so it's saying principal dwelling unit. There is no principal dwelling unit, there is a primary, I believe is what it should say, right? So this is like the kind of stuff where it's like, nowhere in our definitions is the word principal defined, but
Right.
primary is defined. If I get down to it. Oh, primary structure and access structure. So this is under 27, structure, accessory structure, and primary structure. So there's kind of things like that where they're not as tight or concise as they could
Right.
be.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty minor one. Number 3, accessory use. A use subordinate to and incidental to the principal use of land and building. Maybe that's concise enough. It seems maybe also kind of vague to me, but maybe, I don't know. Getting to kind of the more ones that are direct, a building, number 5. Any structure enclosed and isolated by exterior walls, constructed or used for residence, business, industry, or accessory thereto, or for other public or private purposes.
That is a very broad definition, yeah. It's very inclusive.
Very inclusive, which I think it should be. I think we would want our definition to be pretty inclusive, very inclusive.
Well, the last time we were discussing what is a dwelling, regardless of a shed. Then,
Yeah.
in there you can fit everything.
Yeah, and these two, and so the next one, number 6, is dwelling, and where the ordinance uses the word building and where it uses dwelling, there's specific times that we kind of, in talking about them, maybe use them interchangeably, but they're distinctly different. So a dwelling, a place to live in, a residence, or a house. That one seems really vague.
Right.
That's the one that probably should have those 4 units, the 4 things that make up a dwelling, which are sanitation, cooking, sleeping, and eating.
Right.
Like as the ADU states, accessory dwelling unit does state those things,
Right.
but our definition for just a dwelling does not. It simply says a place to live in, a residence, a house. I think that is, I found it inadequate.
Right.
Yeah.
Good input, yeah, agreed.
So then we get to 7, a residential dwelling unit. A structure, a portion thereof, providing complete and independent living, sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation, which are used in common by one or more persons. So here,
There it is, and maybe that's, right, so the town in zoning can define what a residential dwelling unit is. People who are just dwelling on the street, you might just say they're dwelling.
Possibly.
Maybe that's why the distinction is there.
Yeah. It seems a little confusing to me. For sure. And under residential dwelling unit, we have duplex, a building which houses 2 separate dwelling units. And then multifamily dwelling, a building which houses 3 to 6 separate dwelling units. Plug in better. And then our other ones that we're looking at are structure. I was reading through this one last night and looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Structure 27. Anything built for support, shelter, or enclosure of persons, animals, goods, or property of any kind, as well as anything constructed or erected with a fixed location on or in the ground, exclusive of fences. So anything you put up on your land that stays in that place. It doesn't say how long it stays.
Right.
So one of the things I think about structure is that it should probably have a time aspect to it. Because if you put up a screen bug thing for the summer and you take it down every winter, I'd say that is just like lawn furniture.
Right.
It's not a structure.
Exactly.
But if you leave it up year round, that's probably a structure. To me.
Yeah.
And exclusive fences. This is where it got particularly interesting. So accessory structure, 27A. A structure detached from the primary building. Again, that word, so there's primary building, but we don't have definition of primary building. We only have dwelling and
Primary structure.
primary structure, right?
In residential dwelling, right?
Residential
Kind of
dwelling
unit
unit.
would be primary.
Yeah. So structure detached from the primary building on the same lot and customarily incidental and subordinate to the primary building or use. So maybe primary building needs to be cleaned up. This one, 27B, primary structure, I challenge anyone to explain this. A structure other than the one which is used for purposes wholly incidental or accessory to the use of another structure on the same premises.
You lost me.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that means.
It's like a repetitive.
It
Yeah.
repeats itself in a
Yeah.
weird way, and I think it's not even a complete
Yeah.
sentence.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our definition of structure in, structure 27B, primary structure, which is the thing that most people call their home, I think is wholly inadequately defined. And not only inadequately defined, I'm not even sure it's a valid definition of anything. Subdivisions, trailers, variants. So that was kind of the main definitions that we were targeting. And then to kind of broaden it a little bit, and I've said this the last times when this kind of came up of like, oh, we need to tighten our definitions of dwelling or structure. And I think we probably need to go through a very thorough of the whole entire ordinances.
Right.
Maybe there's value in just quickly getting these definitions
At
tightened
least
up.
use the terms that we're defining.
What's that?
At least use the terms that we're defining. If
Yeah.
we're defining primary dwelling, then use that primary dwelling in our
Throughout the
Well,
document.
you know,
Yes.
Yeah.
tie it all together.
At least for that
Yeah,
part.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
so there was primary and principal, and there was another one where they interchanged.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
structure and building was one, but then there was one other where, right, we should stick to one.
Mhm.
Um,
I mean, I think, you know, you need to print out that and go, you know, correcting it, at least underground, you know,
Yeah.
highlighted this,
Yeah.
define primary, yeah, yeah. Where do you get that? You're in the website, right?
Yes.
And
I'm glad to print this out for anybody that wants it.
Oh, one way,
It's many pages, yeah.
It's many pages, but the actual, so here we are.
Where,
Town of Albany website.
zoning
General
ordinance,
info.
yeah. Oh my God.
I don't know if you can see up here, Amaya.
Uh,
On the, so general info.
uh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I think so.
And it's the third one down there. It's ordinances and regulations.
That is the one that let me close this and again. Okay, menu, home Albany boards department, general information,
And then
And,
ordinances.
application, master plan, ordinance, regulation.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, I go here and.
Yeah, so hold on, go back right down here. And then what's the next one, Sean? All of that?
So when you click on ordinances and regulations, you get to this page, which
Yeah.
has,
I
at the
am
very
there.
top is the zoning ordinance.
So the
Ordinance,
first one, yeah.
yeah, oh,
And that'll download a document for you.
And that'll come out as a
oh,
PDF.
okay.
now, I
Thank
don't know
you.
if there's a way to pull the PDF off of this and turn it into a Google Doc
A word, yeah,
that we can
Yeah.
all share our corrections
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Um,
that would be great.
Yeah,
There is a way to do that. I can do that.
yeah. Prepare yourself, it's only 93 pages,
Right,
okay?
Yeah. But the actual, yeah, it's only 93.
It's only 93 pages, yeah.
The actual heart of it is the ordinances itself are only 20 pages long. And after that, it's addendums, which are part of the ordinance.
Yeah, but you have to revise the addendum, don't use the primary
Yeah,
and the
to use the
dwelling,
correct
and
language.
then you have it.
Yeah.
Whoever is gonna do it, they have to do it the 100 page, 90,
Right.
excuse me, 93 pages.
Yes.
Mistake by 7.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Agree. So that's kind of our homework. Thanks for looking into it some more.
Yeah, no, obviously I missed a lot of stuff, but I was just glossing over that.
Same.
The,
Same.
mhm.
But if
but
we-
as Jim points out, you're right, I know our other towns really defined what a dwelling unit required.
Yeah.
I mean, ours I guess did,
in some places.
right.
Yeah.
But, right, it doesn't say it needs to have, I think it said it needed to have all 4 of those. things,
Residential-
Sleeping,
Yeah, residential dwelling unit, providing independent living, sleeping, eating, cooking, sanitation.
right.
So those are kind of the 4 keys that define.
It's you know, well, I am just, there is a lot of definition in here, like a light industrial zone, you know, I mean, I haven't read the document, but when I read light industrial zone, I say what that means, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I will learn,
Yeah, it's a lot.
yeah,
Do a first read through and then a
Yeah.
second and a
Yeah.
third. And
Yeah.
So that's more of our homework. If we actually want to get definitions changed by or at town meeting in March 2025, we have to have this pretty buttoned up by, I mean, the very latest. We have to have a public. We, the planning board, would have to present our changes, hold a public hearing so that the public can see what we're proposing. I don't know, maybe we don't. and then submit it for the town warrant. And I look at the schedule, but that is, you know, really you want it done before December. I think it does, like, I think the actual cutoff is sometime in December, but really we would want to have our work done by November,
Right.
which is coming up fast.
Yeah.
So if we actually want to make some changes to our ordinance, we got to get moving. If we don't, we won't. And that's about it I have for the meeting today. I don't know if anyone has anything else. Or anything else for this ordinance stuff before we get off of it.
So Jim, you had brought up, so our definition has requiring all 4 of those for a dwelling unit. You were bringing up variations where it's less than the 4 as a possibility, right?
Right, yeah, so what we ran into was a property that had a building on it that had bedrooms, bathrooms, and a kitchen. Those 3 things, which I think constitutes the 4 things that we talked about.
Well, sanitation would be the
Well,
bathroom.
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 Yeah.
Yeah, so the bathroom, and heating and cooking, is
Yeah.
kitchen, kitchen. So what we were asked is, okay, what do I gotta take out to make that not a dwelling? Really didn't have the answer for that. You know, if you take out the kitchen, do beds in a bathroom, make it a dwelling. We should define that, because that could change a lot of things.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder if there's a use base as well, like how is it being used?
Right.
right, and that, right, I think that somehow,
But that's
Just
a
like
lot
you
tougher
said.
to manage and control
Yes.
uses. I mean,
Yes.
one, same gentleman had a bunkhouse.
Mm-hmm.
What's a bunkhouse? I mean, if the bunkhouse ends up with a bathroom and a kitchen, and it gets used, well, once a year by mom who comes to visit, or does that turn into a weekend warrior place that's rented out, or for whatever?
Yeah.
So,
And this is detached, I'm guessing.
it was detached.
They're all
Yeah.
detached things.
One was a shed that got turned into
Yeah.
a pretty glorified shed.
Yeah.
but now according to our zoning, a dwelling that is detached is not allowed, an accessory attached is allowed. Okay.
Or a duplex, which is attached.
Right. Gotcha, and that's why they're asking, okay, what do I gotta take out to make it not a dwelling, right?
Right, because
Um,
at that point, we were considering it an accessory dwelling, and it's not attached, so it was
In
in
violation.
violation.
um, So yeah, those are the main points, and how do we find where that's written up in other towns concisely, because we don't even come close to approaching that. Like you mentioned with the structure, you know, if it's up year round, maybe that makes it a structure as compared to furniture.
Yep.
Do we need to add in a timing thing on when an accessory unit is actually dwelling based on the amount of time people spend in there?
That seems very hard.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
Impossibly hard. I mean, I think about like the thing with putting a temporal unit on a structure is that not our assessor, building inspector.
Yeah.
What do you think?
What do we have for? There's the assessor that goes around and.
Assessor, yeah, the value, give the valuation of the property.
But then we don't have building inspector.
We don't have a building inspection, we have a code enforcement officer, which we just brought on. And basically that was, if someone came and said, hey, my neighbor's done this and that, we can then go out and respond to that, which we weren't able to, other than
Yeah.
arse ourselves going out, which we really don't wanna do.
Yeah.
Then we have the same guy, Dave Pandora, is doing, building permits,
Yeah.
making sure that process is gone through properly before it comes through.
Yeah.
With the property owner. So,
Yeah, so that, the code enforcement would be able to just see visibly what is on the property,
yeah,
and if something is there year after year, or,
yeah. When we talked about it, it wasn't like, okay, we want you driving around looking for things, it was more just a responsive thing, so we can respond to,
Mhm.
things that come up.
So, I mean, it makes somewhat more sense to think of the temporal part of a building or a physical thing, but how people are using it is. I'm the one that said that initially, but it seems like
Yeah,
impossible
no.
to enforce.
Right.
Yeah, we had an issue where there was a camper supposedly being used year round.
Yeah.
And how do you enforce that?
Yeah,
You know, before the enforcement officer. And even still, that's a difficult,
that's a difficult one.
you know.
All right, more for us to consider.
But I think we're heading in the right direction if we, like you said, put something together where we can all edit it and,
Yeah.
and look at it and.
All right, I'll do that. Back to the minutes. I don't know if you got a chance
Yes,
to
I did.
look at it.
Yep.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as is from last month.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Alright, I have no other business to put before the board.
Mhm.
Anyone know any other business? Hearing none?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Meeting adjourned at 7:12. Thank you.